Good afternoon. Today is Thursday, August 24th, 2023. It is 2 p.m. in council chambers at Sandpoint City Hall, 1123 West Lake Street, meeting of the Selkirk Fire Service Joint Powers Board is now called to order. For the record, I am Jennifer Stapleton, Board Executive Director presiding. Also present are members of the board, Richard Townsend, representing the Sagal Fire District, Sandpoint City Councilor Kate McAllister, representative for the City of Sandpoint, and Will Gadsby, representing the Westside Fire District. With that, Chief, do you want to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Absolutely. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, do we have any members of the public participating remotely on Zoom today? No. Okay, thank you. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the board with any general comments before we get underway with the agenda?
I will. I'm sure you've heard about our little fire in Little Old Dover. They call it up the top of what they used to call Tank Hill. Now it's Shannon Lane. For us, for me, that fire was emblematic of the importance of having that fire station manned. By luck, because of the renovation here at Station 1, there was a crew in the station at Dover, and that led to a good response time. The guys did a great job. Historically, the last couple of years, the argument has been over water pressure at the top up there, and so we're putting in a 12-inch line to increase water pressure to the whole hydrant system from the Essex tank. And but I think the most important factor was personnel got after that fire in a great response time, got attack lines in. I got some pictures that shows the proximity of to the nearest house, and it's fairly close, measured in yards. And so I just wanted to express my appreciation for the Selkirk firefighters. My opinion is that firefighting is heavy on the human side, and it's great to have the trucks, but having enough people to keep them safe and let them do their job is important, and it worked out well. That's it.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Clint?
Yeah, thanks, Jennifer. Clint Frank, fire captain and union president. So here to talk a little bit about our retention problem that we have. We just lost another firefighter. Just heard about this 2 days ago. Tyler and Tilla. So we've lost 4 firefighters in the last 6 months. I've been a career member for 21 years. I've never seen this type of situation before. So I'm addressing the board with some of the concerns. I've reached out to a lot of these members who have left, and these are some of the reasons they've come up with. Main reason is inadequate staffing. Obviously, single engine fire companies is just not a way to do business. Lack of operational support and leadership of the GPA. Crews believe a change is needed. We work hand in hand with Northside Fire, and we discussed about bringing them part of the Selkirk Fire GPA. But fire commissioners have said they would not under the current GPA chair. Under current leadership, we've seen staffing decrease and BC positions eliminated. The Fitch study, which we all agencies paid for, identified the BC roles and operational strength. These decisions over the last couple of years directly affects operational readiness and outcomes, staff morale, and firefighter safety. Our number one priority is to provide the best emergency response we can to Bonner County. If we keep losing good firefighters, this will suffer. We're respectfully asking the change in leadership in the JPA. We believe this will benefit the department overall and the communities we serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Are there any general announcements from board members or from staff?
Nothing from that side.
Nothing. Great. We will now proceed with approval of the meeting minutes from the April 27th, June 29th, and July 27th meetings. I think I'll take these one by one, as we've had a few of these outstanding because we've had board members who've been absent from meetings. But to clarify, in order to approve minutes, you don't necessarily have to have been present at the meeting, and our clerk, Melissa Ward, check that for me before the meeting. But if you're not comfortable approving, obviously, then we'll move on and hold for a future meeting. So let's start with the April 27th meeting. Minutes. Present at that meeting were City Councilor Kate McAllister and Sagal Fire District Commissioner Jim Woodward. Is there a motion?
I moved to accept the minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks. Approved for April 27th. June 29th, meeting minutes, present at that meeting were West Side Fire District Commissioner Ken Deck and Sago Fire District Commissioner Jim Woodward. Absent were Sandpoint City Councilor Kate McAllister and West Side Commissioner Will Gatsby. Does the board, anyone want to make a motion on this?
Motion to approve the minutes of June 29th meeting. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, June 29th minutes approved. And that takes us to the July 27th minutes, and present at that meeting were West Side Fire District Commissioner Will Gatsby and Sago Fire District Commissioner Jim Woodward. And although not in official capacity, I believe you were also here with us representing West or Sago, Richard. So is there a motion on these
Motion to
minutes?
approve the minutes of the July 27th meeting. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, minutes approved. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the chief's report. I'll yield the floor to you, chief.
All right, good to see everybody. I'd like to start off with announcements. The career anniversaries we have. Engineer Colby has gone over 13 years, Engineer Calhoun over 11 years this month, and Captain Wolf over 11 years this month. So we want to thank them for their service to our community and look forward to keep working with them in the future. Sandpoint Station crew is still assigned over to the Dover Station. They'll begin a soft move-in evolution. This weekend, I was speaking with IT so we can start doing things like refrigerators and cabinets and beds and getting everything ready. Once they're fully ready, my intention is to have this station fully operational by next weekend, ahead of the holiday weekend. So we're hopeful on that one. Also, basically, as technology evolves, so most of the department, we are going to be starting to look and shop around for new RMS systems, something that's more all-encompassing rather than having to use different platforms for different things. We currently use one for scheduling, we use one for completing reports and, as a cache. So trying to find something that is a little bit more robust, that we can do everything, kind of an all-in-one stop shop type of thing. So we're just, over the course of the next few months, we'll start looking at that so we can game plan better for next year during the budget process. Because even though the budget's getting ready, we just finished and it's getting ready to start, before you know it, we'll be planning again. So, incident review. So the first thing I want to do is to go over the EMS report. I told you guys last meeting that we would look at kind of a high level view of where we are in our EMS reporting for from March when we started doing this through July. So as you can see, there's just graphs just kind of points it out. And again, it goes by the different categories of what we were called to respond to: basic life support trauma and medical, intermediate life support trauma and medical, and then advanced life support trauma and medical. The graph just basically indicates that each month over month, it's more so we're still responding to the advanced life support medical than anything else. I'd say probably advanced life support medical is probably double what we go to the ILS calls for the ILS medicals at this point. But we'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep reporting those out maybe every 2 or 3 months, just so we can kind of keep tracking and trending that. But as for now, it's pretty much just kind of showing us what we thought was gonna happen. And then we just have the regular incidents overall view. For the month of July, we responded to 203 calls. Sagal had 99, Sandpoint had 91, and Westside had 13. I believe, let's see, the graph at the bottom just kind of shows our trend again as where we were last year versus what we're doing this year. The medical has some to do with it, but we've also had other calls that, you know, again, we've been responding more just as an agency rather than just to medical calls, just kind of overall. Training coming up, the Recruit Academy is ongoing. That's our partnership with Schweitzer and Northside. And it should be wrapping up on December the 7th. That actually began on August the 10th. We have, an acts of violence training that we'll be holding together with Sandpoint PD and Bonner County EMS, next Tuesday. We'll be doing that here in Chambers. We're basically gonna kind of go over some of the responsibilities and expectations when those events happen, as well as walking through some of the tabletop scenarios for, not sure, I think we're doing the middle school and the high school this time. Our intention is to make this more of at least an annual review. So that way we can kind of stay current on all the latest and greatest response protocols with that. We are also in the process of standing up an annual training calendar for the remainder of this year and for 2024 by October 1st. That's something we're working on. It's just something so we can outline, make sure all of our training benchmarks are being hit ahead of the ISO inspection that I would say is probably imminent between 24 and 25. We should be having our next one. They no longer are going to do those inspections every 8 to 10 years. They're moving to every 3 to 5. So we're like right on the cusp of our 5-year mark. So it looks like we're getting ready for another one. Personnel, nothing really to report on maintenance, a couple minor things on maintenance. Personnel, we have one out on FMLA. Engineer Tyler Antilla has resigned his position to pursue other opportunities. I want to thank him for his service to our communities and wish him the very, very best. He will be missed. He's kind of a special one for me because he was actually the first one that I hired. So yeah, it was tough for him to come in, but we had a good talk and yeah, he'll be missed. We are engaging right now, ISIS, and you can speak to this if you want, but we had a meeting. We're actually engaging public safety testing out of Spokane to assist with creating our new hiring list. So we are in the process of that. So hopefully we can get that wrapped up pretty quick. Unless you have anything you want to add? No. Okay. Community engagement. Stage 2 fire restrictions still in effect. We have been utilizing our time on incidents to educate those that we respond to. Our main objective is basically to keep everybody as safe as possible during this time. The majority of the incidents we have been going to are simply people don't know or they just don't understand what those restrictions are. It's not enough that they go outside and they can't see their neighbor's house for all the smoke, but it's more of the educational moment. So we try to take every opportunity that we can to get those folks on the same playing field. We started basically today, we kind of talked about it before. I know Engineer Toussaint has been ordering some stuff, but we're beginning the planning phases for Fire Prevention Week in October. That's really the only thing we have on community engagement right now, but it's going to get pretty busy pretty quick. So, and that's it for the chief's report.
Great, thank you. Any questions for the chief? Next is a monthly financial report, and I'll yield the floor to you, Sarah.
Hello, we'll start with the fire station district wages and benefits. We are 20.5 out of 26 pay periods through the year, which is 78.85% of the way through the year. As you can see on the report, the Sandpoint station is 80% budget spent, 81% is Sagal, and Westside is at 92% for a total of 82% budget spent year to date. 2 more months left in the fiscal year. Unless you want to add anything else to that one, Chief?
No, that's so good. Thank you.
And then the fire JPA administration report, we are at 10 months through the year at 83.33% and total of 72% spent with July on this report. We have a few, again, 2 more months. That last month in September is always the accrual, so there is, that month is a little bigger normally because it's all the year-end stuff coming through. So that 72% spent with an 83 with 10 months, that's a good amount that I think will be fine for the full budget for the year coming through with that. There's nothing to know, I don't think, in July. Anything big at all, actually very small amounts going through for the JPA expenses, so. That's all there is on that one. Got any detailed questions on the detail?
Any questions or comments for the financial report? Okay. Last item on the agenda today is a review of the fireworks display operations permit application and the fire EMS standby policy. And I will yield the floor to Fire Chief Gavin Gilcrease on both of these items.
Thank you. So the fireworks display, I was just gonna go one at a time. The fireworks display operation permit is basically anybody that's going to be shooting fireworks off in our response area, be it Sandpoint, Sago, or West Side. They should be submitting the proper paperwork to be able to accomplish that shoot if it's a professional vendor. We look for things like not only their certifications to be able to shoot, but also their insurance, a list of what they're going to be shooting, their ATF license for transportation. And then they're supposed to submit site review plans, things like that. There's not really been a permit issued for those in the past, and we kind of ran into an issue over here at festival this last time. So we've also incorporated into this permit, if it is on or near the water, they are also supposed to have a special marine event permit from the sheriff's department. The gentleman that I spoke to, professional fireworks shooter, said, basically he talked to the Army Corps of Engineers and it was fine. I was like, well, you're not building a bridge, so it has nothing to do with them. But there's NFPA standards that these folks that do the shoots, they have to follow these, depending on what size mortars they're shooting, how far their safe zones have to be, things like that. So, and we have to inspect those before every shoot. And we also have to remain there afterwards and provide a fireworks during. So it just kind of cleans up what the intent of special events and things like that are. So what my intention is to make sure that we have those in place. So anybody that's going to do those in our fire districts, that they contact us and we're able to at least get the process, look at all their paperwork and make sure everything is current. We certainly don't want them out there shooting, when, it's, they're not certified to do it. They're not insured, things like that. So
So does this include residents on the lake who have some pretty big
Yep.
fireworks?
Yep.
And then to go back, are you saying that the festival did not have a permit to do?
well, they traditionally they do. They did not submit the paperwork like the Lions Club do for the 4th of July.
Right.
They didn't, or even when they sell fireworks out of the little fireworks stands.
Mhm.
They did not submit anything that I ever saw, and I don't believe they submitted anything that our special events coordinator Cassidy Brookhill saw either. It was kind of one of those, hey, it was after they shot it, and then after the fact, I was like, oh, wait a minute, where's all their paperwork? So even the Lions Club, we take their paperwork that they submit. There was not a permit, but at least we have it attached with the special event application. So we haven't talked about any fees or anything like that. It's just a process so that we make sure that they get all of their documentation in. We want to be able to review it and make sure it's not, Billy Bob's.
So ask for
fireworks.
forgiveness and not permission? Is that
Yeah,
it?
yeah, there's a lot of that, but
I think
it's
the
educational moments too.
intent, at least on that standpoint side, and this may be something the other two districts want to consider, is when we come in with amendments on the fee schedule is actually to have a permit fee added, but since this did not come in this didn't come up as an issue until we had already gone through all of our review of our fees on our fee schedule, and it had gone to council, and we'd scheduled the hearing. But kudos to the chief for this. We've never actually had an official application, so we were caught by surprise, as the chief said, the first night of the festival, with the fireworks that went off, and we were aware of the fireworks only when there was a request into police to have all of the boats moved off of the Memorial Dock, our brand new dock, because they were planning on shooting off the fireworks right there. So we got a significant number of complaints relative to the location of the fireworks. We were concerned with the relation of the fireworks to our docks and obviously the shoreline, as well as we got a number of complaints because it did appear that the first night it was closer, and where the fireworks were set off in relation to the osprey nest is also a concern of the communities. So I'd ask the chief to go back and actually do a formal permit, because then it became a lot of he said, she said, called here, didn't know who to talk to. They thought it was fine, was told I don't need to get a permit, to actually getting an official permit. So there's a clear process like there is with everything else.
And it's kind of taken going in cooperation with the sheriff's department. They have a very strict timeline on their permit submissions. So the last minute permit, I need to get it for this weekend. If you don't have it in 30 days prior, they will not approve it. They won't even look at it. They'll just go, no, we're not doing it. So they did it on this last one so they could have the second shoot on Sunday to wrap the festival up. But he told that vendor that would never happen again. And when the vendor tried to play stupid, the sheriff actually found past permits that he had actually pulled for the water shoot. So he knew he was just trying to game the system. So
Well,
hopefully
other
we
event
close that
permits
out.
it's 21 days, right?
Yes, and the intent with this is, at least for our processing on our end, is the same timeline that we have for special events. Because typically we would be within around city limits, in city limits, the fireworks displays are associated with a special event.
Mhm.
And so for moving forward, if you plan to have fireworks, you're gonna have to get this permit in conjunction with your special event permits. But also having a formal permit process gives an opportunity to educate that there is a process and this is how you go about it.
Thanks, Chief.
No worries. Any more questions on the fireworks?
Chief,
Yes, sir.
would this apply for West Side District as well? Would you make it a
Yes.
Selkirk?
Yep.
Change the logo, maybe to Selkirk Fire and
Right.
Rescue and City of Sandpoint on the back. To Selkirk Fire.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I think that'd be good.
It was just
A lot
kind of,
times we have-
it's still on a draft deal. I just kind of wanted to give everybody the heads up of what we're looking to do. But it originated as a city of, in the city of Sandpoint city limits, and we realized there are other people, agencies, things like that do shoots in our district. So we want to make sure that we try to cover everything. So
Lead has a big Fourth of
Yep.
July
they've got one too.
show
So,
and
right.
yeah.
Perfect.
Chief, could I ask, are you guys required to, or do you support it,
To support what?
the shoots? Do you have like an engine there?
We're supposed to.
Okay.
We're supposed to have one there. If for whatever reason that we can't have one there, then they have to supply a fire watch that we approve.
Okay.
So.
And
yeah.
is that part of the reason we're talking, or maybe thinking about talking to fees?
Yep.
So it'd
That's
be,
one of the reasons. There are other events too that are required for people like standbys and stuff.
right,
So that's why we would be talking about that as well.
I'd love to hear or consider, because I know the challenges we have that can only help.
Absolutely.
Which the next item might address.
Yeah, well,
Oh.
it does to an extent. We have brought the fire and EMS standby probably 8 months, almost 10, maybe a year ago. I think it was last summer when we brought it up.
Mhm.
And it was, I knew what I was trying to do. It got a little convoluted and it didn't really flow very well. So I went in and redrafted it, specifically because of the fireworks. Working on the fireworks permit, I was like, well, we should probably address this as well. So basically it just outlines, what a dedicated and a non-dedicated, EMS standby and a fire standby are. We don't provide EMS standbys, but just because we don't provide them, we need to address them in the policy that we don't unless it's in support of Bonner County EMS and their operations. And then it basically just kind of goes into the events that we would do, government partnerships, things like that. But when it comes down to it, if it is the general theme is that if it is a for-profit event and they are requesting a fire standby, then they should be paying the fee to have the fire standby. The case that came up last year was the demolition derby, I think is the one we brought up. And they wanted the fire standby, and I'm like, well, fire standby, unless we're paying overtime for it, you would have to take a frontline service out of service and go put them up there, and then they can't leave. So it's not, the service that we provide and those, for those is not free, and, there's always a bill that's associated with it. So we kind of went down through and what our normal, we just base it off of our overtime rate plus the, like a national standard table for what our engine would cost to be out there for a minimum of 4 hours. So it's an hourly rate, but we charge a minimum of 4 hours, whether we're there 1 or 3 or 4. So
And
that's,
I thought you could, if you have like a call, you can break away.
if it's a non-dedicated standby,
Oh,
so
okay.
they would have to, if they want somebody that's gonna be there and not leave.
Yeah.
Then it's dedicated and we would have to arrange it that way.
Okay, so that's for not.
Right. So again, and this is just another draft. I'm hoping that maybe if you guys have any suggestions, you could just email them to me. We can work them out. And during our next meeting, we can kind of finalize this moving forward. I was gonna give the other the other agencies a heads up that this was coming and let them kind of review it as well. And then we just kind of get a general idea of what's gonna be acceptable across the board and put that into play.
Yeah, ultimately, I think particularly with the EMS standby and there's associated costs with that, that will have to come back on the next agenda as an action item with the JPA board making a recommendation to the 3 agencies relative to approval or disapproval of that particular policy. Having a permit application, a formal permit process, this would be administrative in nature, so a permit process could be approved administratively by the JPA board. If there are fees associated with this that are proposed, and perhaps you want to consider that for the next meeting,
Okay.
there would need to be a recommendation out of this board to the different agencies.
Right.
I don't know relative to the fire district requirements, but I do know for general purpose of government, in order to charge fees, it has to be on the adopted fee schedule.
Right, and that was another thing. I didn't have a chance to talk with Sarah about that. That was just kind of a concept. I knew I was gonna have to play off of that. We just did the fee. Sarah just went through and did the fee schedule update, recent, like within the last month or so.
Yeah.
So, I knew it wasn't gonna be ready in time to hit that, but maybe if there's any degree,
I think we have some other changes in Sandpoint that are gonna come through in the year. We always do. So if there's a recommendation by this board and just speaking to the Sandpoint side, if it moves through at the time that we're doing other fee adjustment schedules, the only issue is we have to schedule a public hearing. So we try to have a few of those things, but if you're gonna have a couple fees here, we might consider that as a basis for scheduling a public hearing.
Okay.
So, but this would be typical. We haven't had discussions at this JPA board meeting about either of these 2 things. So the way we would typically handle this is introducing it at the meeting. We'll bring it back to another meeting for action. And so it'll give you the opportunity, if you want to have discussions, questions for the chief, you can have those before the next meeting, or we can have those as a group at the next meeting. Any other questions or comments on this item? Thank you, chief, for getting this stuff cleaned up. All right, the next item on the agenda is an executive session, and I will entertain a motion to convene into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code Section 74-206A1A and B to consider labor contract matters.
So moved. Yeah, second.
Roll call vote.
Counselor McAllister,
Yes.
Commissioner Townsend.
Yes.
Commissioner Gatsby,
Yes.
Okay. And this meeting is adjourned. Thank you to everyone who participated this afternoon. And we will reconvene in executive session.
The Zoom recording will now be stopped. When the board reconvenes for the remainder of the regular meeting, the Zoom recording will not be restarted as the board will immediately adjourn.